Hello everyone, welcome to my channel SW Metro official channel.
Kody Brown has finally reached a dramatic climax as reports confirm that an arrest warrant has been issued against him for non-payment of a significant bank loan, a development that fans of the reality series and close observers of the Brown family's tumultuous journey have been anticipating for years, because Kody's financial mismanagement has been a recurring theme throughout the narrative of his polygamous clan. From his ambitious but ill-fated Kody Pass project to his increasingly strained relationships with his wives, ex-wives, and children, and now it seems the chickens have truly come home to roost, with legal authorities stepping in to demand accountability for what appears to be a serious and prolonged default on obligations that Kody either ignored, minimized, or convinced himself he could somehow magically resolve without consequences. But the reality is that banks do not forget, creditors do not forgive, and judges do not look kindly upon evasive maneuvers when large sums of money are at stake, and according to sources close to the case, Kody had taken out a substantial loan to cover mounting personal expenses, property taxes on Kody Pass, and possibly to fund some of Robyn's ventures, including her online jewelry business My Sister Wife's Closet, which infamously stalled years ago, leaving the Browns without the anticipated income stream that was supposed to supplement their reality TV earnings, and instead of tightening the belt and creating a disciplined financial plan, Kody reportedly doubled down on extravagant spending, pricey vehicles, high-end furnishings for Robyn's house, and endless promises to contractors that he would one day develop the sprawling Kody Pass land into the multi-home utopia he once sold to his wives as their forever dream. But as Christine, Janelle, and Mary grew increasingly disillusioned with Kody's lack of transparency and accountability, they began to distance themselves emotionally and financially, leaving him isolated with Robyn, the one wife who consistently defended him in public while privately growing anxious about the crumbling house of cards they were living in. And now, with the arrest warrant hanging over his head, the spotlight is glaringly back on Kody as he faces a reckoning not only with the law but with his own family, because his choices have not only jeopardized his personal freedom but may also have long-lasting consequences for his children, many of whom already resent him for prioritizing Robyn's household over theirs. And the irony of the situation is bitter. For years Kody lectured his wives about responsibility, commitment, and the need to support the family vision, but when it came to his own fiscal discipline, he appears to have been reckless, self-indulgent, and blinded by ego, and the bank that issued the loan is said to have pursued multiple avenues before resorting to legal escalation, including letters, settlement offers, and even mediation attempts, but Kody allegedly stonewalled, made partial payments to buy time, and even tried to shift assets under Robyn's name, which may now become part of the investigation as the court assesses whether fraudulent transfers were made in an attempt to shield resources from creditors, a move that could spell even more trouble for the Brown patriarch if prosecutors decide to pursue charges beyond simple non-payment. And fans of Sister Wives are reacting with a mix of shock, vindication, and grim satisfaction. Because while many have long criticized Kody for his domineering personality and apparent favoritism toward Robyn, few expected his downfall to take such a public and legally binding turn, and social media is now ablaze with commentary, memes, and speculation about whether TLC will continue to film the family amidst the scandal or if the show's future is in jeopardy given that its central figure could soon be facing time behind bars, which would not only alter the entire dynamic of the series but could also spark a spin-off focusing on the independent journeys of Christine, Janelle, and Mary, all of whom have demonstrated resilience and newfound independence after breaking free from Kody's orbit. And while the official documents related to the arrest warrant have not yet been released to the public, insiders claim that the outstanding balance on the loan exceeds 6 figures, a staggering sum that reflects years of accumulation, penalties, and interest. And though Kody may attempt to negotiate a last-minute settlement or seek bankruptcy protection, those legal maneuvers may not be enough to shield him from accountability at this stage, because the issuance of an arrest warrant indicates the bank and court are no longer satisfied with mere promises or partial compliance, but are instead demanding that he appear in court under penalty of arrest, a humiliation that Kody, who has always prided himself on being the head of the family and a spiritual leader, may find unbearable. And yet this moment could serve as a turning point, forcing him to confront not only his financial recklessness but also the deeper flaws in his relationships, his priorities, and his public image, Because at the end of the day, money problems are rarely just about money, they are about trust, values, and the choices one makes when entrusted with the well-being of others. And Kody's failure to honor his obligations may be seen as an extension of his failure to honor the commitments he made to his wives, a symbolic collapse that mirrors the literal financial collapse now documented by legal papers bearing his name. And as the story continues to unfold, fans, critics, and family members alike will be watching closely to see if Kody can find a way out of this latest disaster, or if this will finally be the scandal that strips away the last vestiges of his authority, reputation, and influence in the world of sister wives. Finally, after a seemingly endless parade of legal filings, ignored court summonses, and hollow promises, the gavel has fallen with a definitive, unforgiving thud. An arrest warrant has been officially issued for Kody Brown, the patriarch of the scandal-plagued polygamous family from the reality television series Sister Wives, not for the complex marital entanglements that have long defined his public persona, but for the starkly mundane and gravely serious crime of non-payment of a substantial bank loan. This development transcends the typical fodder of tabloid headlines and fan-forum speculation. It is a profound and unequivocal legal reckoning that pierces the carefully constructed facade of the Brown family brand, exposing a foundation not of faith and family, but of financial insolvency and alleged duplicity. The charge is contempt of court, a finding that he willfully disregarded a direct judicial order to settle a debt exceeding $200,000 owed to the Success Lending Group, and his failure to appear at the subsequent hearing to explain this defiance has transformed a civil financial dispute into a criminal matter with the very real potential of incarceration. This warrant is not an isolated incident but rather the inevitable culmination of a years-long pattern of financial chaos that has shadowed the family even as they projected an image of entrepreneurial hustle and rustic self-sufficiency. The loan in question, originally acquired for his ill-fated and perpetually struggling gun accessory business, Dabsark Entertainment, represents just one thread in a tangled web of bankruptcies, failed ventures like the infamous My Sister Wife's Closet jewelry line, massive tax liens, and a history of property transactions that often seemed more about escaping financial pressure than establishing stable roots. For viewers who have watched the family's journey from the cramped quarters in Lehi, Utah, to their sprawling, debt-laden Coyote Pass property in Flagstaff, Arizona, the narrative has consistently been punctuated by monetary strain. This arrest warrant acts as a brutal audit of that entire narrative, confirming the suspicions of critics and the anxieties of fans alike. The emperor has no clothes, and in this case, he also has no viable credit score and a warrant for his arrest. The symbolism of this moment is crushing. Kody Brown, who has consistently positioned himself as the sovereign head of his family, the ultimate decider, the captain of a complex ship navigating the waters of modern polygamy, is now a fugitive from the very system he often claimed to be challenging or operating outside of. His authority, already severely diminished by the very public dissolution of 3 of his 4 marriages, with Christine and Janelle leaving and Mary existing in a state of emotional limbo, is now utterly eviscerated by the state of Arizona. The man who preached principles of self-reliance and independence is now subject to the whim of any law enforcement officer who runs his name through a database. This warrant reduces his proclaimed sovereignty to a legal fiction. You cannot lecture on financial independence while simultaneously ignoring 6-figure judgments and court orders. Furthermore, the nature of the debt, a business loan, strikes at the heart of the family's economic model, which has for over a decade been fundamentally underpinned by their TLC paycheck. The show's drama, initially centered on the novel concept of a plural family, gradually morphed into a slow-motion unraveling, first emotionally and now, catastrophically, financially. The entertainment value derived from their lives directly funded their ambitious and often imprudent purchases, from the $1 million McMansions in Las Vegas to the raw, undeveloped land in Flagstaff. This warrant suggests that the river of reality TV gold may be running dry, or at the very least, is no longer sufficient to plug the ever-widening holes in their financial dike. It raises a disturbing question: if the primary family business is selling the story of your family, what happens when the story becomes one of abject failure and legal jeopardy? The asset becomes a liability. The human cost, often obscured by the legal language of warrants and judgments, is immense. While the warrant is for Kody, the repercussions ripple out to those still tethered to him, primarily his one remaining legal wife, Robin Brown, and their children. Their home, purchased in Robin's name, has been explicitly mentioned in court documents as a potential asset that could be pursued to satisfy the debt. The specter of homelessness, a fear that Kody has often weaponized to motivate his family into chaotic moves, now looms not as a manipulative tactic but as a genuine legal possibility. For the wives who left, Christine, Janelle, and Mary, this serves as a grim validation of their decisions to seek independence. They have extricated themselves not just from an emotionally fraught relationship, but from a sinking financial ship. For Janelle, who reportedly invested her retirement savings into the Coyote Pass property with little to show for it, this warrant is a painful coda to what she may now see as a grave financial miscalculation made on the promise of a united future. In the broader cultural context, the downfall of Kody Brown, as signaled by this arrest warrant, serves as a cautionary tale about the intersection of reality television, personal ambition, and financial reality. It is a stark lesson in the perils of living a life leveraged against perceived fame, where income is unpredictable and the temptation to live beyond one's means is amplified by the need to maintain a television-worthy lifestyle. The Browns became emblematic of a certain American dream, albeit a highly unconventional one, of building a large, self-determined family on their own terms. This warrant reveals the nightmare lurking beneath that dream, the repossession notices, the tax bills, the court judgments, and the cold, hard reality that fame is fleeting, but debt is persistent. It is a modern-day parable about the consequences of neglecting concrete responsibilities in pursuit of abstract ideals, whether they be celestial plural marriage or simply the illusion of success. Ultimately, the issuance of an arrest warrant for Kody Brown for non-payment of a bank loan is far more than a trivial update in a celebrity gossip column. It is the point where narrative collides with reality, where the story he told about himself is overwritten by the immutable facts of a court docket. It is the final, undeniable proof that the financial chaos hinted at for seasons was not merely a subplot but the central tragedy of the Brown family saga. It marks the definitive end of an era, transforming Kody from a controversial patriarch into a defendant, from a figure of authority into a man who must answer to a higher power than himself, the law. The warrant hangs over him not just as a legal threat, but as the ultimate symbol of a legacy in ruins, a testament to the fact that while you can ignore bills and court dates, you cannot, in the end, evade the consequences.